Welcome everybody to the L.U.M podcast. I'm Luke.
I'm Mike.
Listen up, motherfuckers. Now we're talking about phlegm to begin with. So I had a friend he was an avid, I hate to say it, when he would cough up, he would spit it out. He wouldn't swallow the phlegm, that is. And he said it was gross because it would just come back up. And my thought was always, how do you do that? If you cough something up and then you swallow it, it's going down to your esophagus into your stomach. So how does it trickle out back into the lungs and have you cough it back up again? That doesn't make any sense to me.
It makes complete sense to me why he would complain then why he never got calls back on his dates. That would make all the sense.
Oh my God. He did. He dated.
He doesn't swallow.
He dated. No, he was in a relationship with the woman that we all wanted. And you know why? Because he was funny. Fucking hilarious, dude. Oh man. My bang. Hi, Ben.
Memories.
Anyway, miss that boy. He was a tremendous theater artist, hilarious dude, and he's one of those magnetic personalities that's always good to be around. Now, we are in the great state of Wisconsin, and we're going to share a little bit of our local culture with ye. And some places Chicago has deep dish pizza, which they don't appreciate. They've got the disgusting Chicago dogs with the chili.
They've been actually moving more towards the tavern pizza now.
Yeah, which we already have the market cornered on. Tavern style pizza is cracker crust, which means you throw in the dough naked for half the time. Then you take it out, flip it over, put on the topping sauce and cheese, and then you finish it off in the oven. So it's a cracker crust. It's very thin crust, and then you cut it tavern style, which is in squares. So you can hold one nice square of pizza in one hand and a beer in the other, the way God fucking intended. But
people in New York, I'm sorry.
I'm not.
As God intended.
Can you say, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it. I think New York pizza is overrated. I'm not really all that sorry. And maybe I need to get back to the Apple. I've been there a few times. Maybe I need to get back out there and try all shit, but I wasn't that impressed. But in my opinion, the highest echelon of Italian food is the lasagna. The most layers of good stuff per square meter is tremendous. And by that logic, deep dish is better than regular pizza too, because it's more stuff. But that's just my thing. Chicago, really, where they do kill it is the beefs. Yeah. Those beef sandwiches are a motherfucker. And if you go to the, what's it called? Jake's. I think there's a pork chop sandwich that you can get literally out of a hole in the wall, and it's unbelievable. Don't go there. There'll be a line. However, in New York, you got your pizza. Chicago, they've got the food that they don't really enjoy. Dunkin' and coffee for the Massachusetts and Bostonians. In Wisconsin, we have beer. We have corned beef sandwiches. We've got the fish fry, but we also have a wonderful delicacy, which is a breakfast. It's like a Danish. It really is. It's Danish, actually. And this is the Wisconsin Kringle out of usually Racine is one of the popular spots. This is a ringed flavored pastry with frosting on top. And as this says, it was raspberry. My personal favorite is almond, but they don't carry it very often.
Mine is apple. And Racine is maybe, I want to say 10 to 15 minutes south of Milwaukee. It's Uptown is where you would find the bulk of them. One of the more famous ones is O&H, which is the largest, and a lot of them were featured on Food Network.
Yes. So. When I was in college in Boston, I would get Kringles and care packages from my grandma and my mom, and they were very, very popular on our dorm floor. They are too good and so delicious, and we're not opening this one up because I brought two, and we already destroyed the shit out of it upstairs in the kitchen. But yeah, so that is a little bit of Kringle, a little bit of Wisconsin. If you're in town, feel free and get it. You can get it at pretty much any grocery store. And a little bit of extra lovin' from Scandinavia by way of Wisconsin.
And as a reminder, because it's just one flavor, to feed into our next topic, I just want to let everybody know, Luke had 100% of the vote when it came to who got to choose what flavor this Kringle was. I wanted apple. He said his favorite was almond. The reason they didn't have almonds because it wasn't in the store. Apple was there. and he just chose not to get it.
Apple was not
there. And I was deemed denied by Apple Kringle because I wasn't given the right to vote.
You didn't get the representation.
I didn't get the representation needed because I was gerrymandered out of my Kringle decision. I no longer have I no longer have a Kringle representative.
I have successfully gerrymandered the Kringle. This portion was Mike's votes. The rest of that shit, fuck them. And so we had a raspberry Kringle, which is my favorite.
Even the one upstairs, I got 0 of. I don't even know how that worked. It was in my house.
Yeah, but you're not the ruler of your house.
My wife
runs the house.
Yeah.
And
I'm. This may sound ridiculous to me saying this. I'm kind of the minority in this situation.
Yes, he is surrounded by girls. He is. What is the term? Abu al-Banat. Yeah. I think in the West Wing.
That's what I get for being a doula. You know what I'm saying? No.
You would make the most awkward fucking doula on the planet.
Hey, man, the classes were free.
Yeah. Abu al-Banat means father of daughters. If you want to look up the West Wing episode that it comes from, basically everywhere he went in Egypt, Bartlett was described as Abu al-Banat. And then whenever he went to pay for his tea, they wouldn't let him and they'd laugh at him and say Abu al-Banat. Father of daughters is what Abu al-Banat means. And they figured that he'd gone through enough.
He's being mean.
I am. Well, no, I'm just venting my childlessness and he
has dogs. It's fine.
I do. I have one wonderful little, very, very delicate and psychotic pit bull named Teddy Graham. We'll put up a photo of him here.
Definitely not Jerry.
Not Jerry, indeed. Speaking of gerrymandering and representation, talking a little bit about what the Supreme Court has done the last couple of days. They have basically gutted Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Let's back it up and let's just define our terms, shall we? Y'all are busy. Not everybody can listen to NPR and read AP and Reuters all the time, so I got you. The Voting Rights Act, basically in 1965, under LBJ, it was the situation in the case was in Louisiana, and basically they drew out a lot of the black districts to weaken them.
It'd be in case Louisiana v. Was it
Calais or Calais? Yeah, I say Calais because that's the port town in France, and I like the way it sounds.
Yeah,
but that's just me. So basically, the South was making it difficult for black folks to vote, and they were drawing the districts in a fucked up way so that black people wouldn't get their proper representation. This made another black district, I believe it was. And so it gerrymandered a little bit in favor in the interest of equality, of initial equality. And then they said you cannot gerrymander based on race. And if the court believes that you've done so, they have a right to step in and say, timeout, flag on the play.
Yeah. So Section 2, to read it verbatim, is no voting qualification or prerequisite to vote or standard practice or procedure shall be imposed or applied by any state or political subdivision to deny or abridge the right of any citizen in the United States to vote on account of race or color. The argument against that effectively that they were utilizing is saying that it can't be done in reverse. So why is it being allowed to be used in the other way? If they can't use it for white people and in regards to the intent of why they're doing the gerrymandering, then why are we only applying it to when it applies to black people or brown people?
Yes. They're claiming reverse racism. But the idea, again, is it's the difference between equity and equality. And there's a tried and true graphic here, which is incomplete, but still very, very good, in my opinion, where it talks about and we'll show it here, you've got a tall kid, you've got a medium-sized kid, and you've got a short, stubby kid and they're all on boxes. Two top kids can see fine, or the two taller kids can see fine. Little kid can't see. Take the box away from the tall kid, give it to the shorter kid, and everybody can see. That's the difference between equality and equity. Everybody gets what they need in order to have full access. I've also seen this with a ramp that also includes our brothers and sisters with disabilities. Love that one too.
And to verify for people, that equity is the same E in DEI.
Yes.
It's to imply that we're giving equal access to something amongst different groups. And so this is what the Republicans feel is inappropriate.
Yes.
Because they feel as though as the tall person giving somebody else the box is hurting them somehow, even though they're gaining they're gaining no greater or lesser value.
It's not fair. Yeah. And it's not fair. And life isn't fair. And it's not designed to be fair. It's designed to provide equality of access, equality of opportunity, and equality of protection under the law. And those are the big things. So the idea is that you take away the Republicans want to take the box away from the short kid and give it back to the tall kid. Yeah. And the tricky thing here is that you're not allowed to gerrymander based on race. However, you can gerrymander based on partisanship. And because there is a ton of overlap there, it gets incredibly sticky, which is why it was important for the courts to have the power to step in and say, fuck you, you're doing this bullshit again. Louisiana or Georgia or Alabama, spots in the South. And Mike, I don't know if you wanted to talk about Idaho real quick or just slip it in.
There's a thing too that we look at in regards to like the level at which these people in Louisiana, because we're going to go to a clip in a little bit.
Racism in the South.
Racism in the South. We're talking about people who are willfully willing to hurt themselves. The LBJ quote, effectively, that we've heard over and over again. They're willing to hurt themselves if they feel like they can be better than somebody else. They want to position themselves where they feel as though they are in complete control of where they are, especially almost, intrinsically tied to being able to be above another person.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much they hurt themselves if it hurts their perceived enemy more.
Yes. And it's not just a Caucasian thing. I believe there were quotes where they say a slave didn't dream of freedom. A slave dreamt of owning slaves because they wanted to profit off of the same system. Point being that you can gerrymander based on partisanship and not race, which is what made it super sticky. Made it a sticky wicket. Now let's define another term. What is gerrymandering? Gerrymandering was named after a fucking asshole named Elbridge Gerry, who was the governor of Massachusetts from 1744 to 1814. Governor of Massachusetts.
He was the one who gave them all the car keys.
Yeah, the car keys. And going to Packett's Corner and some other places. Fucking
big fan of Dunkin'.
Yeah, coffee. Anyway,
coffee.
God, I'm back in college right now. Yeah,
he needs more chowder.
Every single. Oh, I miss Boston. Anyway, so he drew one of the state's maps for the Democratic Republicans in this manner here, so as to assist his political party more. It looked like a salamander to a lot of people. And so one of the political cartoons, I believe, was this, and they started calling it gerrymandering. Basically, you're drawing the maps in a way that favors your party over another one. You over or undersaturate one group at the expense of themselves or the other. And then that allows you more representation, more people in Congress, more political power. And so gerrymandering did happen during the the Voting Rights Act in order to equalize the scales, because black people had, been fucked over to provide white folks a 300 to 500 year head start in this country.
And gerrymandering,
so this is an example of the gerrymandering right here. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say gerrymandering. It's not intrinsically just one way of doing this. This is the term that was coined in reference to the entire way that this type of representation is performed, because you can call it redistricting, but it doesn't matter unless you do a perfect representation. Everyone's going to claim you're gerrymandering. It's become almost synonymous with redistricting.
Yes. And let's not get it twisted either. Democrats and Republicans do this. Republicans do it more. Republicans tend to do it worse. And Democrats have actually, in Congress, I believe they have put up several votes to end all partisan gerrymander. Republicans don't vote for it. I think Adam Mockler, who gave it to, what's his name? Scott Jennings a couple of days ago. Scott Jennings was pissed. Ooh, the rage baiter is just like, get your fucking hand out of my face. Keep it up, Adam Mockler. Give it to him, buddy. But anyway, he mentioned, I think it was, shit.
Well, I just know that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, when asked about her opinion in regards to the Virginia case, how Republicans are all up in arms about this redistricting that was voted on by the citizens, mind you, versus Texas, which was just done
Virginia.
Sorry, Virginia. Yeah. So Virginia, she was basically saying that, well, boohoo, we have asked for numerous years to have nonpartisan redistricting being done, and Republicans don't want it because they know that they'll be impossible for them to gain a majority anymore because they're losing favor. Their party is painfully unpopular. The president of their party is painfully unpopular. Anybody on the Republican side, even the people in the culture war, know that their beliefs and their ideals are crazily unpopular. So they have to move towards this redistricting that's becoming more and more racially motivated and clearly aimed to gain them more seats.
Yes, that's what Mockler was talking about. He's talking about how no Republicans voted against the gerrymandering. And remember, or last year, I believe it was, Trump told and directed Texas and Indiana and Virginia and some other places to do North Carolina to do a mid-decade redistricting, which is never done. Never. You do it on the census year, which is once a decade. Yeah. He told them to do it so that they could have more Republican seats, especially in Texas. And California, Virginia, Maine, I think, and some other states said, don't fucking do this because we'll gerrymander again. And if you want to start cheating like this, we will cheat too, and we'll cheat better than you, and we will fucking punish you.
And the problem the Republicans are running into is that they have, by any metric, a lower amount of representatives in regards to like size. So they have way less constituents across the country. So they have to have more intricate districts. And I'm not saying this is a unique problem to Republicans, because
their voter base is dying out.
Their voter base is getting, obliterated as time goes on. But to go further into what Luke was saying, Texas, in regards to that, Texas did the redistricting under Greg Abbott, and they're starting to find that they're now entering into a crisis mode.
Yep.
Because they're losing their leads in certain districts because there's going to be more of a Democratic push. I think
Mexican and Latino, I think, right?
Like James Tallarico, I think, is now considered the front runner in his Senate race. And where they're seeing shifts across multiple new regions because an area that was once a plus 20 red is now maybe a plus 5. That's striking distance for any Democratic candidate who, like a Beto O'Rourke, who would want to try to push to get into that race. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why you also have to be mindful of the Republicans in like the state of Indiana. Indiana was asked to do the redistricting, and they decided not to. They decided to not do it because they were aware, based off of the metrics they had seen, that if they did it, they would have seen a reduction in their lead, and they could have lost a lot more seats and had the opposite effect. And these states are doing it without even invoking their citizens. California and Virginia had direct votes on it.
Yeah, they had a referendum, and the voters said, yes, do that shit. They're cheating. We'll do the same thing. Get fucked. Virginia, I believe, had their election this week, and they approved the maps, and immediately the crybaby Republicans challenged it in court because they can't stand it when other people cheat better than them. You can't win unless you cheat, which means you're losers.
Well, this also comes with like a very long, and this is something we'll talk about at a later date. There's a very long history of the conservative parties in our country trying to weasel their way into turning the judiciary, which is supposed to be a nonpartisan body of our government, into a directly political body. And the corruption in that situation is just out of hand. So when you look at like the Virginia referendum and the citizens of that state voting to allow them to redistrict the way they wanted to redistrict, well, all the Republicans and conservatives had to do was find a judge that was more aligned to their belief systems, and he put a pause on that. He put a pause on enacting that newly redistrict map, and we're seeing that across the board. Louisiana, who recently won this case that led to the Voting Rights Act Section 2 being challenged, they stopped in the middle of a primary to establish brand new redistrict barriers for their voting blocks.
Yeah, ballots are already out right now.
In the middle of an election.
Yep.
And Louisiana.
It's going to get super fucked up. It's going to get really, really weird, and it's going to get tied up in the courts.
And you're going to see a huge spike in voter fraud for some dumb reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. The more chaos you can kick up, the more Republicans tend to have the kind of cover to sneak their bullshit through. And again, a lot of this is racist. This is racist.
Racially motivated.
Yes. And so if you are a white Christian nationalist and you believe that you are the superior race, why do you have to cheat? If you are better than us, why can't you just beat us straight up? You fucking losers.
If you were racially superior and morally and ethically superior, if you were superior in all these regards, then why hasn't every other person on the planet come to that same consensus?
Yes. Well, because better is, of course, subjective. That's another question here. We mentioned somebody like Beto O'Rourke. Answer in the comments here. I'm super curious. Why can't Beto win? Why can't Beto win? Why? I mean, I was a fan of Andrew Yang for a while, the Yang Gang, because I really agree with the concept of a freedom dividend or UBI, but he can't win anything. No. I think more of that is probably because a lot of his predictions turned out to be completely incorrect. He said during the Hillary Clinton primary, he said that self-driving trucks would put all semi-drivers out of business within a decade. That definitely didn't happen. But I'm all about UBI. I keep talking about that shit, brother. And he's a little adorable. He looks like Kermit the Frog.
he almost looks like a Kappa wearing a human suit. I feel like if you took his hat off the center, you see that bald spot right in the middle. That's indicative of a Kappa. You know.
The Kappa. Yeah.
He looks like a Kappa with a human suit on.
I don't give a fuck what he looks like. I give a fuck about whether he can get stuff done if he's promising it, and I honestly don't think so. But so the idea here is the Supreme Court gutted Section 2. This was a case that was actually brought by the DA or one of the political officials who's running in Louisiana. He put up a challenge to the Supreme Court so that he would have a better chance of winning. And the Supreme Court, the conservative justices, Roberts, who has been going after apparently the Voting Rights Act for decades and decades and decades. Gorsuch, who never should have gotten a seat. Kavanaugh,
Alito, and Thomas.
Yes. And
Gorsuch.
Neil Gorsuch was the one who got fucked out of his spot, right?
Well, Gorsuch is still there.
He's still there.
It's Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson are the dissenting opinions. Yes. All the rest, Gorsuch, Thomas, Alito.
Yep. So and Clarence, Uncle Thomas, is the biggest disappointment of it all. I've seen a lot of videos, a lot of interviews with people who say he is the most spineless, greedy, toady piece of garbage that you are likely to come up against. A lot of his family doesn't even fuck with him. And he is in bed with a shitload of really, really rich political people who buy him gigantic mobile homes so he can tour around the country on vacation.
Harlan Crow.
Yes.
Benefactor.
Yes, that's his sugar daddy.
If anybody wants to just save time on this whole Clarence Thomas thing, if anybody wants
last week tonight,
I would go and find the podcast Behind the Bastards, which is on the you can find them on iHeartRadio, but they're a group that does a lot of deep dives into the worst people in all history, and I believe they have a four-parter about Clarence Thomas from his earlier days to him effectively politically ostracizing himself from his family. And, I think it was his grandfather was like his biggest supporter. And because of his decisions in the political arena, basically led to his grandfather no longer, cutting ties with him, just getting him out of his life.
Yes. He is an Uncle Tom. He is a greedy, lazy, shitty person who wants life worse for black people because he thinks it's good for them for some reason. He is scum. He is subhuman.
He's to give you an idea, just real quick. He was married to a black woman, but treated her like subhuman, then married a white woman. And then as a justice, was one of the people who voted against Roe v. Wade and took and utilized a provision of it that makes it so that you could attack other laws based off the same grounds. And that was effectively the same thing that allows the courts to have protections against discrimination in marriages or people who are homosexual marrying. That same judicial mechanism that was utilized for those two things was used for Roe v. Wade, and he attacked it, meaning that he attacked something that could ruin his own marriage.
Yes.
That's how fucking broken this guy is.
Yes. And each one of those justices all said that Roe v. Wade was established case law, was established precedent, and then the first chance they got, they fucking voted against it. You are all liars. Brett Kavanaugh, Dr. Blasey Ford had a very compelling testimony in front of Congress that you raped her, and people like Susan Collins of Maine believed her and still voted to have you in.
Yeah.
You are a piece of garbage as well. And you're just gross fucking people. And Clarence Uncle Thomas, you got successful. You stood on the backs of other great black leaders and other great black academics, and you pulled the ladder up behind you. That's really what you did. And there's nothing that I hate worse than seeing someone who got a tremendous benefit from something who doesn't pay it forward and pay it back.
I think
you fucking owe. Shame on you.
I think if the black delegation was to look up at where Clarence Thomas is in this metaphor, they could hear a very faint yelling of, "I got mine," and that's all they're gonna get from him because he doesn't care.
Rich bitch.
Rich bitch. That's him.
Yeah,
he's the Ashy Larry in this. Okay.
Yes. I can't emphasize it enough. It is important to vote because the president chooses these people, and it's also important to vote for Congress because Obama had a pick. He was going to vote in. Who was it? I think that was Gorsuch.
It was the no, it wasn't Gorsuch. He was going to vote in the last attorney general.
Yes,
under Biden and for Garland, Merrick Garland.
Yes, so he was going to vote in Merrick Garland and Mitch McConnell, not long for this row,
the grave digger of democracy, yes. a title he proudly holds. He is happy when people call him the grave digger of democracy. Turtle.
Yes. Speaking of evil Kappa, so he held it up, and then another spot came up later on, and he filled it in less time. He was a complete hypocrite, and it looks like he is now melting into whatever wheelchair he's being wheeled around in. And it's a shame, as an atheist, there's no hell for him to go to.
All the dementia pills have turned inward and are now devouring from the inside out.
Yes. And that's just what it is here. So again, you might be thinking to yourself, why are these Republicans voting in this way to limit their own power? Because this is also as Mike mentioned, the LBJ quote, if you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best colored man, then he'll be so worried, busy with that, he won't notice that you're picking his pockets. This is going to dilute the power, the representation of the poor white people and poor other minorities and other people in these districts. And so literally when you're voting for this type of bullshit, you are voting against your own economic interests. However, are you really voting against your own true interests? I think there's a political internet personality, Amanda's Mild Takes, who I love. She is an absolute little spunk, and she hits hard. She's a bad lady, man. I like her so much. And she puts it very, very well. The idea that no war but class war. We should be appealing to these people's economic sensibilities and use logic. And I say, by that logic, if that actually worked, I would have probably convinced half the state of Wisconsin by now. She's got a different take.
Yeah, no war but class war is the all lives matter of the left. Just stop. It can die in a fire, along with both sides are the same. One side has now taken us back to Reconstruction, and the other one hasn't. There are wealthy, upper-class black people in Atlanta. You know how many representatives they're going to have in Congress after they crack those districts? None. People who say that kind of thing almost invariably come from blue cities or blue states. Why do they vote against their own interests? The white working class in the South. If we just give them class consciousness, all these secret Marxists will come running out of the hollers. That is insane. White working class Republicans in the South do not vote against their own interests. You just don't understand what their interests are. They're not economic. That's why tossing a bunch of economic populism at them doesn't do anything. Policy is not the point for these voters. It is not the point. The point is cultural supremacy.
Good pause.
Forever and always.
So right there, cultural supremacy. They're not interested in being more economically advantaged if it means that black folks are going to get economically advantaged alongside them. And the big question that we have to ask, and by we, I mean white people who are in the class war here, who are struggling, it's going to be, what are you going to do? How are we going to address the people who are, what are we going to do? What are you going to do to get rid of or address or ameliorate or medicate the racism that exists within the Democratic Party, within the moderates of our caucus? What do you do? What do you do when people want to be more racist than they want to afford their groceries? Mike is laughing because
not to ruin this, but you asked me, the white guy, what I'm doing. I can tell you exactly what I'm doing. I started a podcast with a black guy about racial and systemic and economic injustice. That's what I'm doing.
Love it. Yes.
Because
I am grateful for that shit. The big question is in general. And again, this is why I have such contempt for moderates, is because they're cold oatmeal, man. And they get in the way.
Unmoving moderate.
And when you're saying that, that's the other thing, is that I am light-skinned enough for people to consider me one of the good ones, for people to really, really like me. I'm a brown person who can make you feel very comfortable. Mm-hmm. But that also means that I am not going to get the honest to God, disgusting truth out of people. So I need y'all to be my eyes and ears. To what degree is racism polluting the class war? To what degree can we ameliorate that and get rid of it? And Amanda mentioned Reconstruction. We're getting taken back to Reconstruction. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I strongly believe that because Lincoln was killed and Andrew Johnson became president, that Reconstruction failed largely, and racism was allowed to fester and metastasize into what we have now, where we don't admit that slavery was wrong, that slavery was evil. You don't even, because it makes children and Republicans feel bad about who they are and what happened. So if you're not even going to be truthful about what happened, I don't know where we're going to get to.
I feel like there was a fallout, because if we talk about how we allowed things like the Daughters of the Confederacy to exist, how we allowed the KKK to continue to have presence across good portions of the mid to lower,
which is not a Southern organization. That's some Indiana shit.
But where I feel like the thing is like, when we talk about trying to make a large scale cultural change, that has to come with something that can improve or be better. And for the South, which was primarily reliant on slavery for its economy, they really had nothing else to do. They had nothing else really to fall back on outside of their cultural pride and their, inflated sense of self. They, to this day, you still have Georgian women dressing up as Southern belles to go get paraded off to courting gentlemen of the night.
Yeah, the parabellum.
Antebellum South. Like, you have all these things, like these cultural things that are being held on to. And when we talk about these people being so willing to hurt themselves that they would, do whatever they can to maintain that sense of unique identity, there was opportunities for them to be racist somewhere else at one point in our history, and they chose to stay. And we'll talk about that in a much later episode, but there was opportunities brought upon by other groups of people who wanted to go make their own white nationalist identity somewhere else. And the people in the South who were part of these groups said, no, we'd rather stay here.
Yeah, they didn't want to feel like they lost. They didn't want to claim defeat to a lesser opponent. And
they didn't want to treat the people that they once enslaved as being on the same level as them. It's almost an epidemic of our culture where people talk about the white man being under attack. The Drewski skit where he was making fun of Erica Kirk.
That was fucking hilarious.
Talking about the only people who matter are the white man. You want to know why he made that point in that story? Where the only people who matter are the white men because they're our future. White men feel like they're attacked because they're the proportionately the largest group of men in our country by statistic. But they're being told this because we're in a situation where socially their position as the top of the hierarchy isn't going down. Everyone else's positions are going up to meet them. So from their perspective, any form of representation that isn't their own representation is seen as an attack on their representation.
Yes. When you come from an insane level of privilege, any form of equality is going to strike you as oppression. Now, I understand the perspective of young white men. That was me in high school and in college. I was around white folks. I was raised by white folks. And it took me quite a lot to come to where I am in terms of my relationship with my Black culture. And if you're a young white kid, if you're Gen Z, Gen A, I can understand, because everybody tells you that you have it so good that you're on top and you can't get a girlfriend. Your hopes of getting a house are super, super low right now. And everybody thinks you're a piece of shit. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm 16. I didn't do none of this shit. I understand. However, it's not about y'all anymore. And we need to find a way to reach young white men and make them feel like they're part of the crowd, part of the culture. We need to find a spot for them, but we also really, really, really need to advance the equality of access, opportunity, and protection under the law for the Black and brown and Asian and women people who don't have that. And that's going to be a Herculean task.
If I can, I'm gonna like a Paula Abdul song. I'm gonna take 2 steps forward and 2 steps back real quick. To clarify from my personal perspective, this white male thing has to effing end. We have to end that shit, because white is not an identity. You want to claim there's a white identity, but you want to act like, oh, well, we have Black History Month, we have Black Heritage Month. White is a literal identifier in a social economy. You have people who claim they're white for social reasons. Germans still exist. Dutch, Danish, French, English, Welsh, they all exist. And they are all under the classification of white. Until the mid to late 1800s, Italians and Irish weren't considered white. Now they're considered white. If it wasn't for a court case, people in the Middle East would be considered from the Middle East or Arab. But because of a court case where racist white people couldn't accept Jesus not being white, Arab people are considered white by American law.
Yeah, if Jesus is white, then you have to acquit me. Yeah. Otherwise, you can peg me to the wall and you can hit me with whatever law that you think I've broken.
This idea,
but you'd have to admit that Jesus, coming from the same land that I came from, is Arab.
Yeah.
Or Middle Eastern, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever the classification. But
I've got more patience for white, whatever you want that to mean, white men, because I know that they are potentially the most destructive powder keg of any demographic in this entire country. And they're in deep, deep shit.
Here's the thing. Black people were stripped of their culture because of slavery by the actions of white people. They were stripped of that idea of their homeland, their home culture. Very little of that, like the griot culture kind of came through, where they would do their rhymes, their spoken word.
Griot was the storyteller. Griot storytellers in Africa. They were the keepers of the literature. It was said
with oral traditions of those people.
If when a griot died, it was like a library burning to the ground.
But you want to talk about the stripping of a culture of people. You're watching. I know people who are Italian, full 100% Italian in America. They don't know a lick of Italian. Their mothers and fathers talk to them in Italian. They don't know Italian. Men who were born into German families don't know any German unless they're talking about a family member using the old German terms for their grandfather or grandmother.
Or Omi, yeah.
So you're talking about these people who are being stripped of their actual culture in real time, not because it was done out of malice, but because they wanted to make them part of an in-group that would be used against other people.
And that in-group became whiteness.
I am a mutt. I am predominantly German, but mostly a mutt. My last name is Welsh. there are a multitude of people in my family who are of different ethnic backgrounds than myself, and we have maybe 1 degree of separation between us, and we're all the same skin color. We're all white, but our ethnic backgrounds are completely different. And the same thing with Africans. Africa has a ridiculous amount of different regional groups, biomes, people who have different sufferings. They can pinpoint. Being a person who has been a small time of his life in Asia, I could, for the most part, tell if somebody is Chinese, Japanese, or Korean by looking at them, or even Vietnamese.
The language too sometimes.
Most of the time, I don't even need the language. I can look at the guy and go, I know enough about a Korean to know that you look like you're Korean, because those people from an untrained eye are all the same. And the racist person wants them to all be the same
and have less rights for them.
Because it's easier.
Less rights than them.
When you start compressing a person's identity, it becomes easier to handle. You can't talk to a black man who came from Nigeria about something and expect somebody who was from South Africa to understand what they're saying.
And those two guys are both very, very different from
each other.
From an African-American person, a black person from Milwaukee, Chicago, New York.
But you say that
person is black, and blackness is definitely a culture because they experienced similar trauma, similar histories, similar
they were
norms,
stripped
food,
all the same, no matter where. And when we talk about this idea of like individual cultural group, it comes down to the smaller you can make the person, the more you can demonize them, the more you can solidify their existence to a puddle, the easier it is to watch them evaporate.
Yes.
When you make their vastness as large as an ocean, then all you can do at that point is just try to survive the tide.
And you get a lot of people who come to you in a very disingenuous way when you're talking about culture, black culture, white culture, etc. Why isn't there white culture? Why is there black culture? And the big thing is this: power dynamics.
Barack Obama was an attack on white culture.
Yes. There is no such thing as white culture. And when I'm talking about young white men, I'm talking about them as a non-cultural demographic. However, and it might be more generational and technological than anything else, because that is what is, I don't want to use the term retardation, but that is the thing that is slowing them, that is holding them back, is a lot of the times that life is being lived online right now, and they aren't having the proper one-on-one interaction. And we've talked about that in previous episodes with the Groyper movement and the incels, etc., and these wannabe Sigmas. Point being that when you are the dominant ethnic group in a country, you don't necessarily, I'm sorry. When you are the dominant group in a country, socioeconomic group in a country, and you're not from one nationality or ethnic group, you're not a culture. So people say reverse racism or black people can be racist too, all that stuff. That's bullshit. Black people can be bigoted, they can be prejudiced, but racism only works down in the political or in the power spectrum. I can't be racist to Mike because Mike may have more power than me. I can be racist to another person who's farther down on the socioeconomic ladder because, in terms of ethnicity, because I'm punching down. Racism only works down. It doesn't work up, rather. Freudian sleep there. Racism only works down. It doesn't go white. It doesn't go up.
I would say the framing's a little different, because the racism has to come from, in my opinion, in some cases, especially if it's going up, it has to come from a place of acceptance that from at least both parties' side. Because I know that there's certain people that I'll never convince to accept me for who I am. And they're going to have a very long laundry list of reasons as to why they'll never be acceptant of me being anywhere. I mean, look at the culture of, if we want to get into like the reverse side of that, black guys dating white women. It's seen as an affront to the culture of the blacks that are watching this happen. You can't find pride in your black queens kind of situation. So we have this ingrained to a point where it's more of a acceptance of that, in my opinion, the acceptance of the victimhood. If a person is being racist and being racist because of that victimhood, it's more understanding than it is being racist and being in the power position, because you're you're punching down with no one able to fight back. But if you're racist punching up, you're doing it from a position of realist or trying to fight a power dynamic that is already been against you since you've been born.
If you hate a white person, if you're a black person who hates a white person because they're white, it's not necessarily racist. That is prejudiced or bigoted. It's just a different word because the power dynamics, they go one specific way. And that's if you just look at these words as tools in the bag to best describe the thing. Because remember, language is descriptive, not prescriptive. The term not racist doesn't make you not an asshole, not a bigoted piece of shit. It just means it doesn't quite satisfy all of the features or qualifications that are required.
Because this is all tied into linguistics war. Like
yes.
people are finding ways to change the way words are used to impact people, and it's easier to find high impact, simple words to convince people that something is the way it is. It's why we talk about white is into culture, but people claim that where there is a white culture, there has to be if there's a black culture. Well, I mean, it's hard for me to understand that because I don't have a concept of general socioeconomic conditions. Really? Well, then let me explain to you, as we did before, why there is no white culture.
Here we go. What is culture? AI overview. So if you don't like the AI,
take it with a grain of salt.
Yes. Culture is the shared, learned, and transmitted set of behaviors, beliefs, values, and symbols that define a group's identity. It encompasses both non-material elements, language, traditions, norms, and material items, food, clothing, technology. It's dynamic, adapting to environments, and evolving. So if you don't have all of those features for your culture, you don't have a culture. What are the traditions, the norms, etc. And I think there was a ridiculous Senate hearing of Congress where Chris Murphy was grilling somebody who's talking about the attack on white culture. And he talked about white church and white food. Those are the only things he could really get out while he tap danced around trying not to sound incredibly fucking racist, which he was and which he did. And he also seemed like an absolute fool and buffoon. The idea is that no one is restricting your access to your culture. However, if you're making laws that are stripping representation or resources away from other groups, then you're doing that to them. Don't fucking play on our face. Stop fucking cheating. If you're really better, compete straight up and win, motherfuckers. But I'm sorry, y'all through the process of slavery created superhumans anyway. Super artists through the trauma, superhumans physically, as evidenced by, most of the NBA and NFL, because you were trying to breed superhumans, you fucking savages. And if you can win, then win. But don't try and choose your voters instead of allowing your voters to choose you with your better ideas, because it's just fucking sickening. And stop playing in my face. I hate that shit.
And if we're going to, and then just to add a little bit on the back end, because we can talk about a very robust black culture in America because they have a shared identity as being oppressed by a larger socioeconomic group for hundreds of years.
And because they were decultured when they were dragged here in chains.
So when we talk about culture in regards to how it applies, I'm going to say this as straightforward as I can, as simply as I can. When you get to an actual culture, things become more flavorful. When you have a more raw, direct tie to it. If I want American pasta, I'm getting SpaghettiOs. But if I want Italian pasta, I'm getting lasagna. I'm getting
carbonara or linguine and clams.
Yeah. If I'm getting American hot dog, I'm just getting a hot dog. I'm not getting a German or a Polish sausage or kielbasa. I'm not getting that because those are the definitive cultural foods of those people. When you dilute what the culture really is, you don't get a 5-star Mexican restaurant. You get Taco Bell because we're diluting it. You get fast food pizza. You don't get the pizzas that we see coming out of Italy and
the margaritas and stuff.
Yeah, where we see bastardizations and the flavors added to those bastardizations were stolen from other people. You want barbecue? Well, guess what? White people can do some barbecue, but when you start getting into the different styles that are used in different regions,
well, the term,
a large amount of that is taken from native, Black, and Mexican cultures.
Yes, and Hawaiian and indigenous. Yeah, man. Even the term barbecue. I mean, we went through in Chipotle and Qdoba, all sorts of barbacoa. This is barbacoa now, and then it morphed into birria. That's where it comes from, barbacoa. The idea that you're using smoke and fire, a lot of times underground, in order to heat something, break down connective tissue, and turn a large, tough piece of meat into an absolute feast, which is something that Black slaves did. If American barbecue is a lot of times slave food, you know, I mean,
soul food across the board.
Soul food.
Use the bottom of the barrel ingredients to make the best meal you could.
And that's where they came up with the idea of living high on the hog. Yeah. You would get the ribs, you would get the back, you would get the hams, you would get the shoulders, you would get all those things. Meanwhile, the trotters, the shanks, the offal, the offcuts, the face, the head cheese, etc., was all left for the slaves and the peasants. And especially, I mean, we're talking about Louisiana. Jesus Christ, talk about taking rough kinds of food and turning it into an absolute fucking feast. I mean, in a way, we did make superhumans out of Black people because they do tend, and of course I'm generalizing, but in music, and I'm listening to a lot of the Eggs and Grist podcasts, so I'm drinking the fucking Kool-Aid there, and I'm happy to. I'm eating the grits, I'm eating the eggs, because those guys, they lay down some knowledge. You can point to a Black person who has pioneered or been a foundational component of every form of music in the United States. You wouldn't have country if you didn't have the blues. There are Black folks in punk. There's Black folks in that founded metal. Freeman J. Hawkins. Like you can go, and I don't want to belabor their podcast because they tell it like it is, and they tell it in a really, really strong way. But the idea again is that when you have a vibrant, flourishing culture, everything tends to get more flavorsome. Yeah. Everything tends to get better.
And Milwaukee has its problems when it comes to racial segregation because we've been labeled one of the most segregated cities in the country for a very long time. But anyone can tell you the city has no problem celebrating all the different cultures that are within it, because we have our German Fest, we have our Irish Fest. I'm forgetting the name of the French one, but they bust out their own Bastille Days. Yeah.
And we have a spot on the summer fair grounds by the lake, which is absolutely gorgeous. And you'll have Pride Week, and then you'll have Bastille Days by Cathedral Square, and then you'll have Summerfest, Festa Italiana, Greek Fest. They do theirs a different spot.
You have a lot of Greek Orthodoxy around here. Huh?
Yeah, you'll have Irish Fest, you'll have Indian Summer, Asian Moon Festival, and these are absolute celebrations.
We celebrate Latino Heritage Month. We celebrate African Heritage Month. We have a very proactive and vibrant cultural identity when it comes to those things, because the city was built on the German idea of their heritage and growth. We have cheese, we have beer, we have a lot of these things from Germans who came to this region years and years ago to make a lot of these things happen. So when you start peeling those things away, then you start getting the dilution I was talking about before. And luckily for Milwaukee, at least the city, because the outer suburbs don't have this thing.
It's very diluted there.
They're diluted.
Walmart.
Yeah. The city has a resurgence, and we are seeing it more and more. The system isn't responding as well to it as we'd like, but it's still there. And I'm just happy to be alive to see it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing, and maybe we could wrap up here. Just a little Milwaukee pride. When I was in my undergrad in Boston, I would say, hey, I'm from Milwaukee, and they'd say, hey, I'm from Long Island, or hey, I'm from whatever. Nice to meet you. I'd say I'm from Milwaukee, and they'd look at me and be like, Minnesota? And I took that fucking personally. And it got to the point where I would say, no, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And there were a couple of people who had been to Milwaukee. They went for the summer for some theater shit. They went with Nate Dogg, and they lived in Milwaukee. And as soon as somebody who had been to Milwaukee heard that I'm from Milwaukee, eyes lit up. Oh my God, dude, East Side, amazing. Water Street, really, really cool. We went to Farwell, and we did this. We saw the fucking Milverine, all sorts of stuff. Our town is a rough one, but we have so much. And we are a town and a city to be proud of. And people talk about culture in terms of food because it is the most visceral. But I think that we have what it takes to potentially be a top tier city. And it made me very, very proud to be from Milwaukee. While I was in Boston swimming in East Coast attitude, I'm sitting there with my Ice House 40 and trying to show my Wisconsin manners. And it's just made me think about that and made me think of how proud I am to be from Wisconsin, from a team and a community of people who brag on their manners and brag on our humility and brag on our hometown vibes.
Team and tribe pride. You're part of the team. You're part of the tribe. You can have that pride. That's not hard to have. That's easy. We're already predisposed to section ourselves off mentally to want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we're hoping, hey, to wrap this all up, we're hoping that we can leave you guys on a good note on that Milwaukee love. Let you know that we're still out there trying to support people. We're out there for the people. We want to try to keep this going, keep the voice moving. And, on behalf of Luke, myself, we're pulling for you and we're all in this together. All right.
Cheers. Hey, do you guys have any birds at your house?
No.
Did I send you the thing? I saw a reel or a video that says in every white household there is either a bird or a picture of a bird somewhere in the house.
No, I have no picture of a bird anywhere in my house. And
statue of a bird, anything.
Hates birds. She thinks they're creepy. She says they have soulless eyes.
They do.
And the only thing we do have that's a bird or bird themed, because the bird bath outside, we did not put that there, is our front porch light is in the shape of a birdhouse. But I just thought it was cute.
Gotcha.
So
a few moments later,
my mom in the 80s and 90s went through a very, very serious geese.
I'm wrong. I do have a bird in the household, but guess who brought it into the house? You did, mother.
I don't know how, but that's racist.